Hi, this is Jordan Teen 1, and today I'll be showing you how to make a new bracelet. Here's what it looks like. I'm calling it the Vertigo Bracelet. For this one I did white for the outside, and then for the center I did two different shades of blue, and you can see how they go diagonally. Now for this one I changed the position of the blue bands for every section. So you can see how the light blue goes from one side and just zigzags back and forth. Now in the one I'm doing today, I'm going to keep them the same. So every layer I'm going to keep the colors in the same spots. So it will look just a little bit different. And you can do this either on the Monster Tail loom or the Rainbow Loom. So today I'm going to show it on the Rainbow Loom. And I'm going to be using 6 pins in a rectangle shape. And for my colors, I'm using the Rainbow Loom brand bands. I have black for the outside, and you're going to need about 100, maybe a little bit more for that. And then I have the two different shades of green. I have the dark green and the neon green. And those are going to be my middle bands. And you're going to need about 50 bands for that. I'm going to start in the center row here. I will do it on the third pin up from the bottom, and I'm going to take 2 of my outside colors, so I have 2 black bands, and they are going to go from this third pin up in the middle and go diagonally up and to the right. And now I'm going to take 2 more black bands, and they are going to go from this pin on the right, move diagonally up and to the left into that center row again. So your bands make a sideways V. And now I'm going to take another band. I want this to be a cap band that's going to go in this middle pin here on the right. So I want it to be doubled. And in order to do that, I'm just going to place it on my hook, twist, and put it back on. So you'll see the 2 bands there. I'm just going to place this right on this pin on the top. And now I want these lower bands to come up through this cap band. So I'm just going to take them in order. I'm going to take my hook and go down through. Get these 2 bands to go behind my hook. I'm going to pick up the next 2 bands in line. And I'm going to hold this cap band in place so it doesn't pop off. And now these 2 bands are just going to move to the pin above here. Just make sure they both make it on there. And now I'll go back down through again, push back, and I'm grabbing these bottom 2 bands. Again, I'm going to hold this in place. And now these are going to come up through and move to this pin below. And now I'm just going to release this from the center pin, and it can just sit right in the middle there. It's just the bottom of the bracelet. And so now I'm going to start with my pattern. I will do the neon green first. It's going to go from this bottom pin here on the right and move into the middle. And now I'll take the darker green, and that's going from this middle pin to the one above. And now I'm going to place my outside bands or my border bands, and they're always going to go from this bottom left pin to the next pin over to the right, and then from the top left pin over to the right. That's where they're always going to be placed, and I'm always going to be using black. So I'm just doing both of these bands. And now what I want to do is get these green bands on the 2 end pins to go over the top and into the center. So I'm just going to grab this neon green and move it to the middle, and then I'll take the dark green and move that to the middle. I'm not doing anything to the ones in the center, they're just going to stay there for now. And now I need to remove the bottom rubber band on all 4 of these outside pins. So I'm just going to grab the bottom band and pull it over the top and do the same on the top here. And now on this other side, the same thing, just grabbing that bottom rubber band and pulling it over. Just doing it on all 4 corners. and push down. Now I'm going to do this same green pattern, but I'm going to do it on the left side here. So I'm going to start with a light green or neon green, and then do my dark. I'm always going to be keeping these in the same order. And now I need to do the outside bands once again. So I'm going to take the black, and it's just going from the middle pin over to the right, and then the same thing for the top. I want these green bands to come over the top and into the middle. Again, I'm leaving them on the center pin for right now. And now I want the bottom bands to come off of all four corners. So I'll just do the left side and now the right. It really doesn't matter what order you do them in, as long as you just get the bottom one off of all four. I'm going to push this down. And now what I want to do is take these green bands on the right side, and I'm going to continue pulling them over to the opposite side. I'm going to do this in order, so I have this dark green on top. So I'm just going to remove it from the center pin, and it's going to come to the pin below. And now I'm going to take the one that's on the bottom here, this neon green, and it's going to move to the pin above. So you're just stretching it out to the opposite pin of where the other end of it had started. And now once again, I'm putting on the border bands. And now I'm going to remove the green bands. You always want to do that first before you loop the black bands, so the greens will come into the middle. And now I want the bottom black band to come off. And do the same thing again. And you always want to keep pushing it down. And your bracelet is going to grow out through this open space in the middle. And if you're using the monster tail, that's all open, so that's easy for it to grow out. And now what I want to do for this next layer is I'm going to take these green bands, and again they're going to stretch to the opposite side of where they started. But this is where it's a little bit tricky. It's really not too hard, but I'm going to take them off in order. So I'm going to remove this dark green first, but what I need to do is get it to intertwine with the bands that are already on there. So what I'm going to do is take this lighter green band, and I want to get my hook, make sure it goes through both sides of the green band. You can see now my hook is through, and I'm going to grab hold of this dark green band, and I'm going to just pull it through. So now you can see it's in front of the light green band, and now I want to cross it over here to the pin closest to me on the left. And now I'm going to do the same thing for this light green band. First I'm going to release it from that pin, and now this time I need it to come in front of this dark green band. So this one's a little bit easier to do. I'm just going to pull it so it's in front, and now I'm going to stretch it across, and now I can do the border bands. So really that's about the hardest part, is just getting those bands in the right position so that they are intertwined with one another. And so now on the left side here, I'm taking the green bands and putting them into the middle. And then finally I want the bottom layer of black to come off. I'm going to do that for both sides. And then push down. So really that is all there is to it. I've just shown you the pattern you're going to use for the whole bracelet. So let me show you it again. As I said, with this blue bracelet, I changed up the colors. So I had started with light green and then dark. So I would do the opposite. I would do dark green and light if I wanted this pattern, but I'm going to keep it the same throughout this bracelet, so I'm always going to be starting with the light green first, and then the dark. And now I'm going to put on my border bands. And now I want the green bands to come over. It's important that you do this first. And now the bottom black from all four corners. And push that down. And now we're repeating that pattern on the left side. So again, I'm always starting with the light green and then the dark. And now I'm putting the outside bands, the black bands. And then the next step is to get the green bands to come over. And again, you're always just leaving them on this center pin, just for right now. We'll deal with them in the next steps. And now the bottom black band. Push this down. And now I'm going to work with the right side here. I'm just going to take this top band, which is the dark green. I'm going to stretch it to the pin below. It's a little bit of a long stretch. And now I'm taking the light green and that's going up. And now the border bands. And now the green bands come over. And then the bottom black. Push this all down. And now we have the left side to do. And remember, this is the part where we want it to intertwine and go in between the other layers. So I'm taking the top one off first. I'm just going to leave that hang. Now I want to take this green band here, this light green band. Make sure I grab both of them. I'm going to slide my hook inside, grab this dark green and pull it through so it's now in front. You can see it's in front there. And now I'm going to stretch it down. And now I need to take the light green off. Again, I'm just going to leave that hang for a minute. And I'm going to reach inside here, so this green band that I just stretched is above here, and I'm pulling this through, so now this light green is in front and it can stretch up. And then finally I need the black bands. And now the green comes off. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to grab. And then the bottom black bands. And push that down. So that's all there is to it. I'm just going to keep repeating this same pattern. If you feel like you don't quite have the hang of it yet, you can always go back in the tutorial and follow along again. So I'm just going to continue on in the same pattern, and when the bracelet gets long enough, I will show you how to remove it from the loom. When you have your bracelet to the length that you'd like it and you're ready to remove it from the loom, you're going to take an additional band that is your outside color. So I have black, and I'm going to put it around all 6 of these pins, making this rectangle shape. And then I am going to take the bottom black bands, there should be 2 on all of the corner pins. I'm just going to pull them over the top. I'm going to push this down. And now I'm going to take the band on the right pin that's closest to me, and I'm going to move it to the pin in the middle on the left. I'm just going to take this center band and release it from this pin. And now at the top here, I'm going to move this over to the left. And now I'm going to take another black band, push this down, and I'm going to stretch it across in this center row from the pin closest to me. It's going to skip the next pin and go to that top pin. And now I want the bottom 2 rubber bands on each of these pins to come off. And now I'm going to take my hook and pick up this band that's closest to me, leave it on my hook, pick up the next one, and now I can take this off. I'm just going to pull it up through. I have a clip here. I have an S clip. You can use whatever you have available. Just going to hook it through. And then on the other side here, you should have a nice circle in the middle. That was the cap band that we had put on at the start. Hook that through, and then here is your bracelet. And if it looks like it's a little bit squished, you can just take it and pull the outside edges. Just make it a little bit straighter in the center. And as I said, you can see this was just a little bit of a different design than the first one. Here's the blue one that I did. In this one, all of the light colored bands are going the same direction because we kept the bands in the same position. And this one I switched it every time, so it did this zigzag. So I think they're both pretty cool looking. I hope that everyone had fun making their Vertigo bracelets. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!